Welcome everybody. And so what I'm going to do here is just briefly introduce Nick and Lasse and Sasha, and then we're going to get into some of the questions. And I'd love for everybody as we go along to ask questions, in the Q&A, and I will call some of those out and ask the panelists essentially as we're going. But should be a great conversation. And so I'll start off with Nick. And so Nick is a qualified accountant with more than 15 years of experience working in the accounting industry. Apart from Xenett, Nick is the founder of and is leading in 2 other companies. Nick is a technology enthusiast and loves playing cricket. And so on to Lasse. Lasse is the founder and CEO of LiveFlow. And just quickly, I work at LiveFlow. I'm a product specialist at LiveFlow. So if you do have any questions about the product after the fact, feel free to send me or anybody else at LiveFlow an email. But Lasse is the founder and CEO. And prior to that, he was head of growth in the Nordics at Revolut. Before joining Revolut, Lasse was a founder of previous companies and led other incredible teams. If you are in the LiveFlow community, you know him as our CEO. And then Sasha. So aside from being a rockstar LiveFlow and Xenett customer, Sasha is a numbers expert. She organizes, interprets, and knows the financial story that numbers tell, helping her clients understand their financial situation so they can make decisions with confidence. And so those are the stars of today's webinar. And so now what we're going to be doing is talking about technology and automation in accounting, looking backwards at the history of accounting, where we've gotten to today. So to kick off the conversation for you all, the first topic that we're going to be covering is the life for financial professionals, as well as the state of the accounting technology space before automation and reporting tools became more commonplace. And so we'll spend around 10 minutes here, and I'll kick off with the first question, if it makes sense, which is, can you describe the typical workflow for preparing financial reports before automated tools were widely available? What were the main challenges there?
So, yeah, I mean, as far as, if I look back my career, 15 years back, and I see the traditional methods of doing things, I still remember the days, if we had to review things, we had like list of checklists, prepared in the Excel. And then, there are certain things that have been defined that we had to do it. I mean, that was documented somewhere else. So at one place you had things, which needs to be checked. And on other side, you have like, QuickBooks open and you check all the things. So, and then, the entire process itself was quite, cumbersome, manual, because everybody has a different way of, reviewing things. It was never been standardized. It was never been uniform. So it was, over the period of time, what we realized that despite creating the checklist, despite creating the processes, things were being overlooked. There was still been, errors being spotted, discrepancies being there in the books. So we realized that there should be some way, to automate these use cases, because at the end of the day, that, there are certain checkpoints that needs to be checked to ensure the accuracy of the information. And now the difficulty is, the when somebody is living and you have to do a knowledge transfer. So especially in the case of review, it gets very difficult, because imagine you are like handling a set of clients, and everything, most of the things you have, either documented is somewhere else in the Excel, or either, if you are managing the client, you only know that, okay, what are the checkpoints I should be checking in this client. So it was very difficult to do the transfer, knowledge transfer, when, you had somebody to, there is somebody who had to take over the things from someone else. So that was a trigger point for us, where we realized that, this all checkpoints and review points has to be automated. There should be a better way, where, we can streamline and can make this entire process more efficient. So I would say, I mean, I still, these are some of the instances I recollect from my working days. Yeah. Over to you, Lassie.
Yeah, thanks. That's horrifying and good to hear, I guess, in the
Yeah.
same way. So yeah, well, I mean, I guess for me, I was like, so I come from a slightly different background, actually, in the sense that, unlike Nick, for instance, for you, like I don't have the 15 years in the accounting space myself. Actually, like as Charlie was saying, I did consumer growth for Revolut, which is a banking app in the UK and in London. So I have a slightly different background. So I had to learn a lot of these things, like sort of by watching it happen and by trying a lot of it myself. And I guess one thing that sort of for us inspired LiveFlow a lot was actually me at Revolut. I spent a lot of time, or endless amount of time, to say it in a better way, sort of manually moving data from a marketing standpoint. From like we had various databases, that stored that data for, we were like tracking the campaigns we were running and so on. And I was like, sending that into, or downloading that and putting that into Google Sheets and Excel to create these like ROI models that we were running a lot at Revolut, so that we could figure out like, okay, if we spend X dollars here, how is that going to translate in terms of net new customers and so on. And so I kind of had that problem there. And it was just, that problem in itself was just like crazy that wasn't solved yet. And then when I, started working on LiveFlow, and we saw that in accounting you had the exact same problem with financial reports, that was just like really mind blowing to me, that we were still, doing everything, manually, of downloading reports into CSV files or to Excel files, and then manually uploading it. And so I think like from obviously, we've sort of solved parts of that now. I mean, but we're still a young company and we have a long way to go. So, but I think it's really, and I know we're going to get into this, but yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see, how we can, like with the work that, Nick, you guys, for instance, are doing, and what we're doing and other companies are doing, like how we can really take this like accounting and finance function and make it like, 100 times more efficient and streamlined. Because like, I really believe that small businesses like benefit like crazy of having an accounting firm or a financial advisor who helps them with their numbers. And so like, if we can provide this efficiency, it just like, it's going to benefit the whole, small business economy. So it's going to be, I think there's some really exciting years ahead. So yeah, hopefully, Sasha, you'll benefit the most from all of this. So it'll be exciting to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, if you guys want me to chime in right now, I mean, I can tell everybody, you've got your people and your team, right? You have all the data, and then you need the output in some sort of way that people can interpret, the decision makers can interpret it to make the decisions that they need to make without overwhelm, without confusion. And these two tools have brought that together for me, because like Nick was saying, going through things individually, right? You've got the way we were doing it before, it's like literally clicking on every account, combing through it for the month. And the person that's on the account, it's in their head of, they know what to look for, like, oops, this is miscategorized, miscoded, it goes in here. Oh, the class code's wrong, goes in there, so before Xenett catching those, anomalies that happen each month of like, oops, this is not the norm. Like, did you want this to go in this other account, and so it just really created efficiency for my team in getting things done more efficiently, but also not just relying on the knowledge of that particular account manager or bookkeeper to know the ins and outs of that client. And so if they did leave, we could have someone else come in and say, okay, using the, and then we've got to get the data out in some sort of form for interpretation. And that was taking hours. Like, and then I was exporting stuff and then moving stuff, and then, oh my gosh, and then having it and then creating my own graphs. And then when I stumbled upon LiveFlow, I was like, oh my gosh, this literally is saving. And the updating, right? Because then you have to, each month goes by, and then you want year to date, and then you want month over month, and and LiveFlow just has it all programmed for you. So you literally just refresh once you close out that month. And then now all your data in the form that you wanted to see it in, or maybe you didn't even know the form you wanted to see it in, but LiveFlow has something built and you're like, that's it. I didn't even know that's the thing I wanted, but it's right there. And they built it out for you and you can just click, attach, update. And I mean, literally it's saving me hours and hours, as well as the bandwidth of my team, right? We can take on more of a workload with more bandwidth, which means more revenue, more productivity, and more profits for the business.
Great. Makes a lot of sense. So, second question in terms of this topic, jumping off, I think what Sasha was speaking about, getting into a specific, problem area, is before automated accounting systems, how did companies ensure accuracy and consistency in their financial records across different departments or branches? And what were common pain points in this process? I don't know who wants to take that one.
So, I mean, earlier days, ensuring there is like 100% accuracy all the time, I mean, was a rare thing, to be honest. Because, I still remember, as I said earlier, that there was still a checklist being maintained. But despite that, there were a lot of reports you have to pre-populate and save in the Xenett, I mean, in the QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks, to ensure that, okay, for certain things, you are checking journal ledger. For certain things, you are going into P&L. For certain things, you are going into balance sheet. And the problem is, certain points, I mean, there was no report at all. I mean, for example, there was so many points where there were no specific, like area. You have to drill down to the transaction level. You have to drill down to the account level to ensure that, there is accuracy maintained. So the amount of time it took to ensure, because now you have to look at information from investigative mind point of view, like, whether, is there any error in that, and you're not sure whether the information is correct. So to ensure the entire information is correct, you end up spending almost like 4 to 5 hours on reviewing the books, especially on the month end, and especially for the clients where multiple location class are maintained, even it took more time over there. So, I mean, to be honest, I mean, to maintain accuracy, I mean, it was a big thing. You had to define so many checklists. You had to make sure that, you have covered all the checkpoints, all the checklists. And despite that, you have to do a sense check analysis, while finalizing the numbers, you analyze a high level, macro level, whether the comparative analysis makes sense. And after all this process, you can say that, okay, more or less, numbers make sense, but still you cannot say it is 100% foolproof, because you can always, leave room for some sort of, like oversight or errors or some sort of. So yeah, I mean, that is what I recall from my experience, working on the ground level. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I had
Over
actually
there.
just a follow up like question to you, Nick, on this, and also to Sasha. So like,
Yeah.
because Nick, you were also saying like, you've been in the industry for 15 years and like, you've seen the all the different sort of evolutions of it.
Yeah.
And how it's gone. And I guess like, why do you think it took, like, it seems like it took quite long for the sort of industry to like adapt to a different mindset, both in terms of like automation, but also just the general work. Like, so, and obviously like now you guys are a big part of solving that problem with Xenett and such, but why do you think it took so long? And like, how do you think we can like move it faster in the next years?
So yeah, so earlier what used to happen that, despite, so, part of the process was there were so many different information was fragmented in so many different areas, because on one side you are like prepared, you have all your information in QuickBooks, and then for queries, you're reaching out to the clients over the emails. you fill up the Excel and send it to the clients. Your clients then send few information, few is still missing. So it's like, in order to produce the numbers, in order to reach to a point where you want to make your numbers ready, even it took so much time, because there are certain information missing to complete your bookkeeping. There are certain information missing. There are certain queries that where you don't know, like, where this transaction belong to. So this kind of, there were a lot of internal queries, and there were a lot of communication going on over the email. And imagine, like, you being an accountant, I'm sure Sasha will agree that if you have set of clients and all the clients have same deadline, you have so much pressure. You want to make sure that you get all the informations, and then numbers are ready by some predefined date. And even after that, if you have to produce some of this information in the Excel for the clients preparing the management accounts, one of the biggest challenge we were facing is, once you have sent out the numbers, there was always a possibility that these numbers get changed in the QuickBooks. And whenever the numbers get changed, you have to again, update those numbers in the Excel again. And that's where I feel that, technology makes lot of, difference right now, because lot of things of this activities are now centralized, available in one platform. And you don't have to do all these, mundane activities like updating the numbers, and then talking to the client over the email. A lot of these activities are now centralized and available in one single platform. Sasha, you can add your experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I interpreted the question a little bit different, so I'm going to take a different route because Nick, you're right on. Like that's why it takes so long, and then why updates are just so clunky. The way I kind of heard the question is like adapter, right? Adapter of the technology. And so I'm going to take that route, that answer of like, why in the industry are people not adopting technology sooner? And it's this kind of like professional, like I'm the professional, it needs my eyes on all the things, right? And then what we end up doing is hiring more people, more human capital to then QC, to have more eyeballs on it. Like, okay, I did this, will you check my work? And then will you check her work? And then will you check his work? And
Yeah.
it was almost like it came from this frame of mind of like, unless we can look at every single transaction. And I used to do this too, like even in QuickBooks, I'm not going to do the auto add. I need to see, I'm going to create the rule, but I'm not going to do, I want to make sure I see every transaction to add it myself. So that was me way back when as well, is making sure I touch every transaction so that I know it's accurate. But like Nick said, with the human element, it's never really going to be 100% accurate. Like that's just a tall feat. So what we can do here and what you guys have put together is marrying the automation, but also allowing the accountant to feel that touch point and to say, hey, this is this correct? Is what we're picking up on? And then you can say yes, or you can say, oh, thank God you got that. Let me make sure I fix that. So it has both elements, even with the reporting. Okay, we're reporting this, exporting it. Now you've made your updates. Now it can automatically update with LiveFlow, all of the things. So I don't know. I think it's so amazing what you guys have put together here.
By the way, on that note, Sasha, I guess, what do you wish you knew back when you started your firm, that you know now, both in terms of like the automation tools and so on, but also just, I guess, like, I'm just curious on this kind of adding more people can only solve the problem in,
Yeah.
I mean, it can only solve the problem in one way, right? But yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, you've got the people and then you've got your systems, right? And so it's really like integrating the technology into your systems so you can still feel like you have that touch point and in control. But you've got the systems for the quality assurance, for the checkpoints, right? So in my firm, we have bookkeepers like coding transactions in there, but then I have senior bookkeepers that are QCing. So it is different eyeballs, but the senior bookkeepers are the ones using the Xenett technology, exporting and using the LiveFlow, right? So it's a different dynamic. And it's just the system and how, I guess I would have just, what I would have liked to know sooner is just saying, hey, we can have systems with the technology and just reallocate those people in what they're doing within the system rather than doing the same thing just to QC it. It's like, let's have somebody do a little something different, but the QC is still there.
Great, great. So just going to jump in here quickly. First of all, I'm entering in the chat in a webinar exclusive. Essentially, this is a demo request form to fill out where you can access for folks that are joining today special promos, incentives, and discounts for the audience. So I'm going to put that in the chat just so folks know. Feel free as we go along here to put questions in the Q&A. We were just asked one question, and I'm not sure who wants to take this, but I'll just read it out loud, which is, are you working with CPA firms to produce operating and finance lease calculations, credit loss calculations, depreciation calculations, loan amortizations, etc., to follow US GAAP accounting? So whether anybody wants to answer that directly, Lasse or Nick, or kind of use it as a jumping off point to talk about some use cases similar to the question, feel free to go ahead and take that.
Well, it would probably be helpful. Yeah, it would probably be helpful to get some more context on what's the sort of underlying problem here, Sam. But for us at least, it depends on. It's not something we do like straight out the box, but if these calculations for lease and for credit loss, etc., can be done in Excel or Google Sheets, we can help you to get the underlying data. But yeah, I would need to speak to you directly probably to just get a bit more info.
And just to add to that, I would say that we are working with a lot of enterprise level clients where this kind of checks which are being done on a monthly basis. What they do in Xenett is they create certain checkpoints. They create the checklist. Where they have a set of things, and there are certain assignees, people assigned to that. And certainly the certain, US GAAP standard that has to be maintained outside our platform, but what our platform handles that, things which has to be done on a recurring basis or monthly basis, which needs to be checked, can properly be organized and can be managed on our platform. So yeah, what all I would say, we can certainly, talk on one-to-one and understand more in depth what's the requirement, and accordingly we can address the question.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So unless there's other commentary in that specific question, great. So I think what we'll do now is move on to the portion of the webinar where we are going to be hearing from both Lasse and Nick about the history of their companies, some context there, and then getting into the solutions and the products. And so I will just kick it off, I think, to Lasse to talk about LiveFlow's origin story, and we will just go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. And I know we're a bit short on time already, so I'll try to speed up a bit here and make it brief and interesting. So yeah, the founding story of LiveFlow really came from so as Charlie mentioned in the beginning of the call, I started a few companies prior to this, some went very well and others didn't, but I did not know really anything about managing finances back when I was much younger, and didn't have many wrinkles in my face, and struggled to sort of figure out how do I run the financial aspect of the business. And because for context, I did not actually study anything in terms of accounting or finance. I had to learn everything kind of on the job. And so big part of the motivation for LiveFlow came from having that experience. And then as I mentioned before, whilst I worked at Revolut in London, the Revolut, for context at that time, was about we went from about 900 people when I was there to I think 2,500 or so. So it's like a very hyper growth company, really technology driven. Like I would say, very advanced in terms of everything we did. But when when you work as a country manager for Revolut, so as I was managing the Nordic region, you have to spend quite a lot of time working with the finance team at the HQ to get approval for budgets, get approval for spending, aligning on your plan for the quarter, for the year, etc. And whilst I was doing that, working with the finance team, it was just really crazy to me to see how outdated some of the processes were, and how much just time we spent in sort of this like manual data movement of getting to some data we could look at. And that then basically the idea for LiveFlow, so combining those two things into one, and that's how we kind of got started. And so really when we first started, and it's still the goal today, is really our goal is to help SMBs to make it easier to manage their financial life and to get control and to get an easy to understand overview of their numbers. And so obviously, like there is with anything, there is a bunch of sort of iteration, as I'm sure Nick has also experienced building Xenett. You don't just get the right answer on day one, unfortunately. So we had a lot of iteration on the product and on like how we should think about solving this problem and which kind of angle to take towards it. And the funny story, which happy to share, is that we actually first kind of like thought about this idea of like, hey, let's build an Excel competitor, like let's build something that can compete with a spreadsheet. And that was like it's a bold idea, and like that's it sounds very cool, but I think we realized just relatively early on just how difficult that is, because you're not just competing against Excel, but you're competing against PowerPoint and Word and all the other products 365 offers. And then more importantly, you're competing against folks that have spent 20 years of their lives in Excel and are really, really used to that. So I think for us, we were very happy that we didn't go that route, and that we started out by asking ourselves the question, like, what's the biggest pain point folks are facing? And for us, that was what we discovered was like, hey, it's really tedious and manual to bring in accounting data to your financial models in Excel or in Google Sheets, and started by building on top of that. And that had it's both, obviously it's like real big benefits and also some challenges that comes with it, which we've had to deal with from a product standpoint, which has been really interesting, because obviously the big benefit from being on top of Excel and Google Sheets is that you're not asking anyone to change their habits, entirely, right? Because it's within a system that they know. But with that said, the challenge that you can face from a product standpoint is that you're kind of limited to Excel and Google Sheets in a large way. So we've had to deal with that a lot, and I know we'll get into some of the demos after. So, and we're also excited to share we're working on our new dashboarding product, which can help to create dashboards not in Excel and in Google Sheets to solve for that. So that's our short story, and obviously we have a long way to go, and we're working very hard to make everyone happy. So Nick, over to you.
Yeah, interesting.
Give us some fun stories.
Yeah. No, same here. I mean, I still recall for us, I think the trigger point was, way back in 2018, every year we used to visit this QB Connect. And I was very much fascinated by this entire app industry and the way, everything was becoming like platform driven. And then, in year 2018, I wanted to do something in accounting tax space. And then I realized that at that time, a lot of activities, lot of tools were being introduced more on the accounting, transaction level, like automation, like, making your bill payment easier, making your accounting entry easier. And then, when we came back, we realized that, where there are still gap, where there are still not automation available, where people are still, facing challenges. And while working, with some of the partners, we realized that, review is one of the area is still been operated, done been traditionally. And yeah, and then we realized that, let's start working on, understanding, and then we started speaking to a lot of accountant, understanding their use cases, understanding, what level of checks, what kind of checks they would do and go and check every month in their accounts. And then we made a list of few checks that, okay, these are certain things in every accountant go and check. And then we were like, okay, now we know what to automate, but how we can make it possible. So it's like, we started finding the tech team, speaking to them that is it something possible that can be automate this check. And that's how we started working on those idea. And then yeah, I mean, in 2019, we had some breakthrough. We were able to, make some of this automation possible. Yeah, so it's quite it. And then part of this, very interestingly, we had to scrap 3 times, before we reached to a beta launch. So I'm sure, a lot of app, goes through this process. But, we were quite determined that, we wanted to do something in this space and make the entire review process a very efficient and streamlined one. So yeah, we then officially launched our beta version in July 2020. And yeah, from there, I think, we got a lot of good reception. People welcome this entire idea of, reviewing, automating the review process. So yeah, and from there, we have evolved into many more solutions. So it's not just the review, auto review one, but managing your close process and your entire communication with your clients and with internal teams. We have now, like trying to solve a major piece of all of this activity. So yeah, I mean, it's always good and refreshing, when we look at those old, struggling days.
Nice. Awesome. I know we had a few questions in the chat. There was one from Bridget, and I'll just answer it very quickly. I also typed an answer which made it the question go away, but it was basically, can LiveFlow work with an unlimited amounts of businesses, I suppose, clients in this case? And the answer is yes. So yeah, and then we have one, how do you feel that the automation available in QBO, i.e. rules and auto posting transactions paired with Xenett has impacted the need for the traditional bookkeeper role in the CPA firm industry? Nick, this is probably one more interesting for you.
Yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of things which QuickBooks is introducing is definitely helping to make information more refined. But still, there is a greater need of having an external platform, which actually takes care of your entire, because there is, when it comes to review, there are so many comprehensive review point you have to go through. So it's like, even though, there are certain hygiene points that are being taken care of by QBO, with this, rules and or auto posting. But lot of time what we have realized, because QuickBooks, their niche is going always going to be the software. So sometimes I've realized that these engines are not that up to the mark which an average accountant will look for, because these are not like 100% accurate. They will give you right coding suggestion every time, and it always, there is it behaves differently at times as well. So there is always a need of and second eye, which ensures that whatever the information you have populated in your accounting software, if it goes through a set of automated checks, and make sure that all of these checkpoints are being checked correctly, it gives you an assurance on your numbers.
Great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Charlie, I think we're moving on to some demos.
Yep, that is exactly right. So
correct.
right, so we're going to move on to to demos of both LiveFlow and Xenett. They'll be relatively quick, but hopefully pack a punch. And so I will stop sharing my screen now. So you go ahead and start. We'll do the order that we did in terms of the how I built this portion.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, let me share my screen here. Can you see it, Charlie? All good?
I can.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so obviously we won't have time to get into everything here, so I'm just gonna keep it very brief. But yeah, for anyone that is not familiar with what we are up to yet, so we basically in a nutshell help you to automatically import your accounting data and your financial reports from QuickBooks Online and now also Xero into either Google Sheets and Excel, which can then help you to create live financial dashboards that you can then easily share with your clients. We also help you to do multi-entity consolidation, and we're now, which I'll show quickly, also introducing live dashboards, which helps you to create financial dashboards that are visual and beautiful, but without having to use formulas to do that. So let me just give a quick walkthrough here. So most people on this call have tried the pain of manually downloading reports from QuickBooks and uploading it into Excel or to Google Sheets, and we can basically alleviate that for you by letting you import any of the financial reports that you have from QuickBooks or Xero, and we can take a P&L here just to keep it simple for now. We then allow you to specify pretty much any date range for this. If you want a trailing window of, say, trailing 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, you can do that. If you want for this year, you can do that. And if you want for last year, you can also do that. So a lot of flexibility. I'll just select a trailing 12 months P&L for this company. We then click on Create a Report. And what then happens is we head over to the QuickBooks account, we import the latest data, and this then shows up in the spreadsheet. And what then happens from here is this is now all live, so it gets automatically refreshed every hour, which means that you no longer have to worry about updating these models again. The very nice thing about LiveFlow is that we give you this really infinite level of flexibility. So you can come in and you can insert your own rows and columns directly in the report. So if you wanted to say, you wanted an overview of the whole year of 2023, you can insert that. You can add formulas, and you can copy and paste down these formulas here, which is really handy. And this is now a custom column we've inserted. So if we do like this and just add a bit of color to it, what you'll see now when we refresh the data is that this is going to stay exactly as it is, and it's just going to update after that. So I'll just delete these numbers just to give some more context. And now we have 42,000 here in for 2023. And if I now go ahead and refresh this report, so we'll take profit and loss 1, and I then return here, then once this refreshes, you'll now see that everything sort of updates and syncs without any problems. So this has just been really, really helpful, and we've seen a lot of folks have a lot of success with this, because it gives this level of flexibility. What you can then do from here is, if you want to inspect the data that has gone into this, and you don't want to open QuickBooks Online, you can come in here and select drill down. You can then click on a cell, and then after a few seconds, we show you all the underlying data that has gone into this given account. You can then click on one of the links, which will then take you into QuickBooks Online, for where you can see this specific transaction and recategorize it or do anything you need from there. That's sort of the sort of very quick base level overview of LiveFlow for Google Sheets. We then have a range of these templates that you'll find under our template library. And these templates effectively allow you to take all this data from QuickBooks Online or Xero, and then create your own dashboards with it. And we've created a ton of these templates that make it really easy for you to create this. Here is one of them. Here is another one. And this is what can give you this very high level of flexibility to create any reporting package that you want for your clients. So it works very similar for Microsoft Excel. I'm just going to keep the demo here for Google Sheets, but you can also use it for Excel. And then some of the recent things that we've added is the ability to do multi-entity consolidation. So what's really handy here is we allow you to take all your QuickBooks chart of accounts and then map them into a consolidated chart of account like this, which gives you just a ton of flexibility when it comes to creating consolidated financials. This mapping interface is really, really handy and easy to use. If I want to, say, map online marketing and subscriptions to sales and marketing here, I can do that. And then if I want to move sales and marketing around, for instance, I can do that as well right here. And then what you can then do is you can come back into your spreadsheet and you can then create a consolidated report from here. And then you get the same sort of output as we did for the P&L report, but just on a consolidated level. And then just last, and then I'll give it over to Nick. The newest edition that we are launching very soon and is in a beta right now is basically these live dashboards. And so effectively what this means is that you can now take the data from QuickBooks, turn it into live dashboards without having to create formulas for this, which is really handy. You can then publish these either as a live dashboard. So you can click here, then you get a new link that you can then send over. Oh, that was not the right link. You can then send that over to your client. I need to get the actual link for it. And the client can then see this data updating live as well. What you can also do, you can also publish a snapshot. We're working on naming this feature, so we might change it, but you can publish a snapshot of the data from what do we have today, September 4th. And the numbers in this snapshot are now going to be static. So the goal that we're trying to achieve with this is to eliminate the need for static PDFs and give you the ability to send over a dashboard to your clients with data as of a given date. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming out on this. And if you want a personal walkthrough, then just let us know and we will be there to do it with you. Cool. I think I'm out of time now. So Nick, over to you. Unless there's any questions we need to take. Yeah.
Nick, feel free to get started. I think there was one question, which is, does LiveFlow also connect to QuickBooks Desktop? So Lasse, you can take that, and then Nick, you go ahead.
To all the people who don't know about the Xenett, so Xenett is an intelligent and cleanup tool that helps you auto detect errors and discrepancies from your accounting system, QuickBooks Online and Xero. And at the same time, it helps you to streamline your close process by managing all your closing tasks on our platform. And you can seamlessly communicate with your internal team and with your clients using our platform. So yeah, just to walk you through, some of the modules, what we got on our platform is, as you can see on the screen is, so this is where it gets started. So over here, you have your entire checklist. So the way it works is like you have a different folder structures. So for example, some of these checkpoints are related to your review points, and then some of the tasks are managed by folder. So like there are certain activities that needs to be done on a monthly basis, reconciliation activity, or any recurring entries. So those sort of activities now can be managed over here. You can assign, like whoever responsible, prepare a reviewer on this task. And then, going on the review points. So there are almost like, 30 plus checks which our system run and check your data, and wherever there are discrepancy, it gives you a list of all the transactions where there are any errors. So for example, let's just say you got let's just say if you want to resolve you have error category like transaction posted incorrectly, duplicate transactions. So for example, GL inconsistency, right over here, you can easily identify the transactions which were coded in. For example, the SAM CPA, usually this should go into accounting phase, but somebody posted into legal and professional phase. So based on your history, it automatically identify any miscoded transactions, and it flags it. And the good thing is you can teach the system, you can make your own rules. So whenever in the future, it automatically auto detects all these errors automatically. So this kind of errors, we have almost like 40 plus checks. And then you also get ability to create your own custom rule from our engine. So for example, let's just say if you want to create rule like that, okay, I want to track all the transactions more than $10,000 in office expense, or vice versa. I want to track any transactions coming below $2,000 in the fixed assets. So those kind of checkpoints you can easily create by using our custom rule engine as well. And the good thing is, while resolving these transactions, if you happen, like if you have any queries you want to get resolved with your internal team, you can get resolved. You can use the internal comment function. And then if you want to initiate any query to your end clients, you can directly initiate any queries directly by asking the question from here. And then we have a dedicated client portal where you can see any questions which have been asked to the client, any responses you got from the client, all those activities can be managed directly through this platform, right? And then apart from that, we have task management. Your daily routine task can be managed on this platform. And then recently we have also introduced the file management, where you can manage all your file depository on our platform. We also got 1099 management as well, where you can manage your entire 1099 management on our platform as well. So usually what happens that, once you have configured, once you have set up your books, all you have to do is you go to the close and you go to the review points. You get automatically get the list of areas, list of errors that automatically get detected by our platform. All you have to do is you resolve this point, and on a monthly basis, once this has been finalized, you close, you finalize, you keep track of your monthly closing activities on this platform. So what it does is, eventually this helps you to manage your entire review and close process short. Bring down your 3 day or 5 day close process to 2 day, automate your entire review process, and also makes your communication very seamless with your clients. Because now recently we also introduced the mobile app, so you can get the timely responses from your client for any open information or any missing information from your clients as well. So yeah, I would say there are so many other areas, but yeah, this is just to share the context that how Xenett helps in streamlining the review process and making the entire close process very efficient. So yeah, more details I would love to, with over the demo call, we can certainly share more details and in depth of all the features we have on our platform. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Super impressive. So in terms of a demo, the links for booking a demo of LiveFlow or Xenett are both in the chat. And I know we are running up on time here, around 2 minutes left. And so feel free, if there's any final questions, to enter them into the Q&A and we can address them. I think there was one question that came in during the Xenett demo just now, which was, how about the Shah Megan transaction? Is it only a single transaction? Why is it in the general ledger consistency? Does that make sense to you, Nick?
So yeah, that's a fair question. So what it does is it populates the information for. So right now the report which we're seeing was for a limited period, but at times, if it look backs data for extended period of 2 years. So if we find consistency for any of those period, it also flags. So, the one of the possible reason, this got flagged, that in the past, this could have been flagged to any other account, but just because the period of what we have selected was not showing that inconsistency during that period. So it's just a possible second check we should be doing to ensure the information is correct.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're getting some other questions. Go ahead, Nick, if you want to read off one of them.
Yeah, so some of the changes, what you have shown is currently available, 1099, file management, all those things are right now, it's alive. All these features are live. Yeah, does Xenett integrate with the LiveFlow directly? Not something, but yeah, I mean, definitely we would take that as a suggestion, and we can definitely consider as one of the possibility to do that. But currently the way it works is most of our common customers who use the Xenett and LiveFlow is they have their entire review and close process done in the Xenett, and once the numbers are ready, they do entire reporting process in the LiveFlow. So this is how most of our common customers work at the moment.
I can read it out loud. Is there
Go
a
ahead.
LiveFlow dashboard linking the Xenett information and the LiveFlow to give an overview of inconsistency across accounts? So as a manager, I can see all the clients on one dashboard. I created something, but would like to have more options. Yeah, I mean, well, we don't have a template for that specifically, but maybe there's something we could Nick collaborate on and
Yes.
create here. So yeah, I think it should be possible.
Lasse, does LiveFlow connect with any other ERPs other than QuickBooks?
So yeah, we just launched Zero, and rolling that out now. So that will be very exciting.
Does Xenett integrate with LiveFlow directly, or it's two? So at this point in time, it's a two separate platform. As I said, on one platform you do the closing process, and after that, you do the reporting process. So it's a two separate platform at the moment.
Is there an audit trail for changes?
It's probably one for
As
you,
far
Nick.
as yeah, as far as Xenett goes, definitely, you get any changes you make through our platform, that gets audit trail in the QuickBooks, certainly.
Great.
Cool.
So unless any other questions come in here, I think it's time to wrap up the webinar here. Lasse, Nick, thank you very much for presenting, and everybody, thank you so much for joining. I hope we learned a decent amount here, and again, you can connect with either companies very easily through links in the chat, and feel free to reach out to me as well. Fantastic. So my name's Charlie Callahan. You can reach me at charlie@liveflow.io. And then, also find us on LinkedIn and whatnot. So everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday, and thanks again for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Lasse.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
See you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.